It's no use. I've been practicing with this book for an entire month now and I can't even produce a magical spark, let alone a soul arrow. But I did promise the good people a mage build, so what now? If only there was a way to be a mage without using spells. Wait a minute. Can you beat Dark Souls 1 with only catalysts? Rules as run are as follows. I can only attack with the melee attack of spell catalysts. No glitches or exploits, and no summons or NPCs. Starting out, we pick Sorcerer, as it's the only class that starts with a catalyst. Then we run through the asylum till we get our weapon. Now let's see here. Yeah, this is gonna be fun, I can already tell. Especially since catalysts can't be upgraded. Asylum Demon is rarely ever an issue, but with this lower damage, it's real easy to make a mistake. Yeah, a death against Asylum Demon doesn't bode well for the rest of this run. A copious amount of bonking later, we barely scrape through and get to go free. Now I do have a catalyst in mind, but it's a bit of a trek. We head down through the Valley of Drakes to Blighttown, where we can pick the Tin Banishment Catalyst. Despite being a catalyst, it has a spear-like moveset. Granted, it's a little bit slower than a spear, but it has better damage than our starting catalyst. Just how much more? Well, let's see. I'm sorry, what? Let's just go see Taurus Demon, okay? I can't even. So, the damage from this weapon far exceeded my expectations to the point that I was caught completely off guard, which resulted in a lot of deaths due to me feeling like a deer in headlights. But shaking that off, we take our victory against Taurus Demon. The gargoyles posed a bit of an issue in actually getting hits in due to our slow speed and narrow range. But we're also doing a ridiculous amount of damage for what is essentially a pointy stick. This fight did teach me that fighting unlocked was far better for this weapon due to being able to more freely control my hitbox. Advice that holds true through 99% of this run, but also advice that I frequently forgot. Having a fairly straightforward stabbing weapon came in extreme handy versus Capra Demon though, as I didn't have to worry about the very small arena getting in the way. Just bait out the doggos into single file, and then stab Capra Demon between each of his attacks. Gaping Dragon's our first real issue. Due to his hitbox, we have to aim at a very specific part of his tail, otherwise our attacks will just miss. Granted, Gaping is extremely easy to bait into his charge attack, which gives ample room for a counterattack, but admittedly our damage is already starting to fall off. A fact that is shown off even more by Quelaag. Firstly, her tendency to rotate around makes actually hitting a real pain. But even when we do hit, we're doing about the same as an unupgraded weapon usually does. Granted, that's probably because we are using an unupgraded weapon, but that's not really reassuring given the difficulty is only going to continue to spike from here. But back to Quelaag. Honestly, besides the kind of rough hitbox for this fight, it's not too different from normal. Just stick in the armpit here in order to avoid the strikes and stab away, making sure that we have room to retreat should she go for a AoE. While I'm down here, I may as well pick up some fashion. Oh, there's nothing to say here. It's ceaseless. It's a single hit. What do you expect? Speaking of fashion though, I did stop off at Pinwheel as any of the masks would be a great help. Plus I get this odd feeling I'm gonna need the Rite of Kindling for ONS. Ugh, that is less damage than I would have hoped for. Looks like we're actually gonna have to fight Pinwheel for once. Not that it's really too much of an issue so long as you stay on top of the clones. With that, we get the Mask of the Mother, which is a handy health boost. Along the way through Sen's Funhouse, I made sure to stop and free Big Hat Logan, as his quest is going to be quite important later on. For now though, I am Gollum. Yeah, this is gonna be a thing. Turns out that Iron Golem is exceptionally good at knocking players off the very narrow walkways that make up his arena. Add on a very fast grab attack and are less than stellar damage, and this would normally take quite a while. But the thing about gravity is it tends to work both ways. See you next time, you royal pain in the ass. It appears the game isn't happy with me though, as it decides to start outright cheating. You wanna play that one back again? Yeah, lag stabbed by an enemy during a jumping attack. Never change, Dark Souls, never change. Oh, and this time. I'm gonna be honest, Ornstein and Smo have really lost their luster for me. It's a boss that I'm able to easily take on no matter the run. Given our attack speed, I opted to go for Smo in Phase 1, as Ornstein's just a little bit too quick to reliably deal with, while Smo leaves heavy amounts of openings after each and every attack. Super Ornstein is thankfully a lot easier to deal with than his mini counterpart, if you disregard the somewhat jank hitbox on the grab attack. Which means this is a slow but safe victory. Now, before you ask, no, the Leo Ring does not affect our catalyst despite it appearing to be a thrusting attack. Believe me, I had hoped it would count, but apparently not. Now, it's been a long time, but we can finally work on getting a new weapon. I just need to peel it from the hands of the demon guarding the gates of hell. It's called Lost Isolith? Same thing. As you can no doubt see, this is gonna take a while. Our damage output is now so poor compared to how it started, and at probably the worst possible time. Demon Fire Sage is one of those fights that either goes really well or really badly, and it's purely based on how often he feels like using his AoE. Given the arena shape and size, it's not exactly easy to escape. In fact, the opposite is true. It is real easy to get trapped. Granted, that goes both ways, but for one of us it's far more inconvenient. Still, 1,000 or so tiny pokes later, and we can add his stick to our collection. Looks a bit smaller than when he was using it, but oh well. We've sacrificed a little bit of range, but we get fire damage instead, which is very valuable. Except everything in Isolith is fire immune, so we're gonna be back later. For now, I'm gonna hit up the archives. Who knows, maybe I'll find a book that'll help me figure out why my spells won't work. Well, I may not have found the answer, but I did find Logan again. After helping him out of his pickle, he agreed to tutor me. Nobody tell him I can't actually use magic. But first, we're gonna need some capital to afford the lessons, so let's do some quick boss roundups. First up is Stray Demon, which is especially easy given that it's just Fire Sage with a better arena. Plus our damage output is back to being ridiculous. Man, this build is kind of a roller coaster in terms of damage output. Then straight on into Seif. As per usual with Seif, he doesn't really do much other than curse you, so as long as you keep on top of your curse meter, you can really just sit here and wail on him. Then we went to Moonlight Butterfly. I really need to remember to take this thing on when it's not a joke course. Oh well, free souls. And finally, it's time for Poking at the Air Simulator 2024, aka Priscilla. With our rather poor hitbox, this one was not fun. Each of our hits usually resulted in an immediate counterattack, and for some reason Priscilla just never became visible despite all the damage, meaning this was a real pain. By this point, Logan has gone insane after trying to teach me for so long with no results, meaning we sadly had to put him down. We do get his cool stick though. The tin crystallization catalyst requires high int, and is usually heavily outclassed for mages. But for us, it does pretty good physical attack, meaning it's just what we need for Isolith. Is what I would be saying if I hadn't gotten a little bit distracted. Instead of actually getting anything done, I found myself petting a doggo, as per usual. Here, girl. Good girl. Get the stick, girl. Fetch! Huh. Where'd the doggo go? Oh well, enough distractions. Centipede Demon. Since we don't have any range, we once again must bait Centipede over to this small island, where I can apply some crystal healing directly to the charred skin of their leg. Then we jump straight into the glorified obstacle course that is Bed of Chaos. You know, one of these days I'm gonna have something to actually say about this hot mess, but today isn't that day. Now remember that whole hitbox issue? Yeah, Nina was the worst it's ever been. Due to our very small hitbox, it's almost impossible to hit Nito anywhere except his very obscured leg. Attempting anywhere else just misses. Now bear in mind that that also puts me directly in line of his sword, meaning I have to carefully attack in a small area in between his attacks. And to top it off, his AoE means that I have to get significant distance, resulting in far fewer attack opportunities than I would like. In fact, I feel like I spent 90% of this fight just running back and forth before finally getting a leg up. The Four Kings actually went surprisingly well for once. They have a big enough hitbox that I don't really need to worry too much, and our damage output is enough to keep up with the spawn rate, allowing for a very fast and easy victory. Gwendolyn was not an issue. Hitting him was, but that's par for the course with any short-ranged or slow weapon build. But manipulating his attack cycle, we can get in for at least a few hits per cycle. And at this damage, all we really need is a few cycles of that. Not gonna lie, it took far longer than I would have liked to defeat the Hydra in order to access the DLC. That last head is always a problem, but for this build it was double the trouble. Now the DLC is where things got a bit awkward. Not because we lacked damage, but because the bosses became so agile it was difficult to hit them. Case in point, Sanctuary Guardian. 90% of the time I'll catch up to it just as it begins to run away, with no real chance to get a hit in. This led to me having to adapt to forcing out certain attacks in order to get a single hit. Even then though, that hit isn't guaranteed to land, and I had a high chance of being caught in a counterattack. By this point, fatigue was also starting to catch up with me, so I was playing extremely sloppy, which resulted in a death or two before finally managing to take the win. However, Artorias was more of the same. I basically had to memorize each and every attack Artorias did in order to figure out which ones gave me an opportunity to strike. Thankfully it was far more than Guardian, but on the flip side, I can't knock Artorias out of his buff. Meaning, as this fight goes on, Artorias is only going to get more and more deadly. In fact, at one point he almost managed to one-shot me despite having 40 in my health stat, Ring of Favour, and Mask of the Mother. But as time went on, I got better about ducking and weaving between his deadly assault, letting me finally take him out. But let's not celebrate just yet. Manus is here and he wants to claim the title of the world's best stick user. His staff may be big and powerful, but that means nothing to us. Okay. Maybe he does have the better staff, but it's okay. We've had time to master our craft. Surely it will be. Manus is every problem of this run rolled into one. Awkward hitboxes that require me to stand in danger to hit. Fast attack speed leading to very few attack chances. A myriad of deadly attacks, some of which can take my health from full to zero in a heartbeat. Ranged attacks that force me to move away and thus waste my time. Manus, simply put, was the biggest pain in this entire run. Doesn't help that I've fought Manus maybe 3-4 times in my life. It took a solid few days to ingrain his attack pattern into muscle memory enough to make it a phase 2. At which point, it's all down to luck of him not deciding to blast dark orbs directly in your face. In my winning attempt, Manus' AI got a little bit weird and refused to do anything but jumping attacks for a solid 2/3 of the fight. Not that I'm complaining, but it certainly was weird. With Manus' defeat, we get a new toy. Manus' Catalyst is the only weapon with a different moveset. Namely, it's got a hammer/great axe style moveset. Ideal for dealing with those very awkward hitboxes, like, say, Calamite. Well, it would be if it weren't so damn slow. Or if it actually did good damage. As it is, our old Demon Catalyst is doing far better, even if it is incredibly awkward to hit with. But the thing with Calamite is, it's just not threatening to me. Equip yourself with the Darkwood Grain Ring and you can easily dodge all of Calamite's fire attacks, sometimes by flipping away, sometimes by flipping directly through it. Add on the fact that all of Calamite's melee attacks are incredibly well telegraphed, and yeah, the hitbox is all it has going for it. But even then, that really isn't enough to save it. With that, one last obstacle stands in our way now. Gwyn, the Lord of Cinder. Yeah, Gwyn isn't so easy when you can't parry, or when you have this awkward a moveset. If I'm gonna be brutally honest here, I kinda just brute forced this fight. Dodge what I can, tank the rest, and get damage in where I can. It was far from optimal, but it worked in the end. With that, I proved you don't need magic to be a good mage. All you need is stick. Well, that was an interesting run. I could see somebody doing this run by going full strength or dex, as there are staffs to support that. But for me, the int route just seemed logical. As for next video, we're gonna be taking a small break on the channel for now. As you all know, Elden Ring's DLC is fast approaching, and by the time this video goes out, it will probably almost be here. I would love to say that I could get another video done in that time frame, but I know for a fact I won't, and I'll just get distracted playing through the DLC. So I'd rather just have the time to play through at my leisure and then get back to work afterwards. But that doesn't really mean that content is completely gone. As was the case when Elden Ring released, I'll be uploading my full raw playthrough of the DLC content here in parts. More so as an archive of my first experience, but I'm sure somebody would like to watch it. After that, I should be getting around to Elden Ring challenge runs now that the content cycle is over. But for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you after the DLC. Never did figure out why I couldn't cast magic. Say, what's this? Please remove before use. Huh. Oh, you have gotta be kidding me.